Minnetonka Public Schools.
I'm Crystal Brackey from Richfield Public Schools.
I'm Regina Neville from Medina Public Schools, District 273.
Andrea Keene, Wayzata Public Schools.
Michelle Kuntz of Orono Public Schools.
Ann Casey, proudly representing St. Louis Park Public Schools.
Jackie Bosqueda Jones from District 279 Osseo Area Schools.
Welcome, everyone. And once again, I'd like to welcome our staff members with us this evening and representatives from School Exec Connect. Thank you. I'm going to walk through this evening's agenda. We'll have approval of the consent agenda, which will be followed by Labor Relations and Business Services report. We have one action item this evening with approval of the Local 2209 Tentative Agreement. Board business includes our officer election process, so please be thinking about that. We'll approve a nominating committee for election of officers to the 287 board effective in January of 2022. And we'll have an update on the superintendent search. And we'll conclude with an AMSD report, an update, and once around the table. Are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I move that we accept the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Michelle Coons. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Juanine, are there any people who would like to address the board this evening?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on for approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anyone would like removed for separate consideration? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by member Ann Casey and seconded by Andrea Keene. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is all the way down to the 8th. We will have 8.3.1. This is an action item regarding the 2021-2023 Education Minnesota Local 2209 Tentative Agreement. And I'd like to invite Superintendent Lewandowski to give us a little background.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, board members. At our previous board meeting, we did go into closed session and talk about the tentative agreement. After that, and subsequent to that, the Local 2209 group met and they did approve the contract. So we are happy this evening to bring it back to you for a vote. And I would be appreciative of a motion to do just that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. So based on that background, is there a motion to approve the 2021-2023 Education Minnesota Local 2209 Tentative Agreement?
Moved.
Moved by Sam Sant. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Andrea Keene. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And Madam Chair, I'd just like to thank the negotiating team again
Yes.
for their work on both sides of the table. As many of you know, you've been in school board work for quite some time. This can be a lengthy process, and we're just really excited that the contract now is approved for this year and next year, and that we can concentrate on the instructional work in front of us. So thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you. And gratitude from the board to everyone on the team, and gratitude and thanks to all of our professionals on the 2209 contract. So thank you. We will move on with the nominating committee for the board officers for District 287. So we do this annually. We have a committee. We can have, we usually have 4 to 5 people who are on this committee, and we'll be taking a look at officers. While that is happening, we also recognize that there are members who are either rolling off, new members coming on. It's still the time of year for that conversation. So I would like to just ask for volunteers to join that conversation the time commitment is usually 1 to 2 meetings between now and our meeting on January 13th of 22. Anne, thank you. Okay. Anne, Shannon, thank you. I'm happy to serve on that as well. So Anne, Shannon, Crystal, thank you. And we could do one more if somebody else is interested and available.
Madam Chair?
Andrea?
Well, I have a question.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
I'm rolling off the board, can I still be on the nominating committee?
Yes,
Okay. then
I
would be
believe
happy
so.
to.
And I want to just pause. I think we have.
I
I'm
don't think
pretty
there's
sure
any
we
reason why you can't.
Okay.
trying to think of a reason why you can't. I can't come up with one. So yes. Okay, thank you. So we have a nominating committee who would consist of Ann Casey, Shannon Andreessen, Crystal Brecky, Andrea Keene, and myself, Regina Neville. Are there any other people who would like to be considered for a vote? Is there a motion to accept this nominating committee as I just presented it? Moved by Michelle Coons. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Andrea Keene. And I want to pause just a little bit, and I appreciate the pause. Ruthie, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If it's all right, I want to just walk back a little bit because I'd love to have Ruthie's participation before we do take a final vote. So Ruthie, welcome.
Thank you.
We are just talking about our nominating committee for the board officers for 287 to be effective for the 2022 calendar year. And so the committee would meet between now and January 13th, usually 1 to 2 meetings. And the committee that has been proposed is Ann Casey, Shannon Andreessen, Crystal Brecky, Andrea Keene, and myself. Any other backup that we could provide?
Or
any
you would
questions?
be interested in being part of it yourself.
Oh, it looks good.
Okay. But thank you. I just wanted to pause for that. We do have a motion on the table, and I believe, if I remember this correctly, Andrea, did you make the motion?
I made the second, I think.
You made the second. The motion was made by Michelle. Thank you. Seconded by Andrea. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. I will reach out with some scheduling information. We'll get ourselves organized. It'll be after Thanksgiving before we meet, probably after the superintendent search is concluded. But just to know that I do have all of your names down, and thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is 9.2.1.2, and this is next steps on the superintendent search. And I'd like to welcome David Clough and Tony Johns. Thank you for being here this evening, representing our search firm, School Exec Connect. I'm grateful for your work and grateful for the work of the superintendent transition team, which includes our board officers, Ruthie Dallas, Andrea Keene, Crystal Brecky, and myself, as well as radius guests, Rachel Hicks, Amanda Achterkirk, and Ann Becker. So thank you to everyone for your focus.
Radius.
Oh, and Radius, yes.
And Juanine.
And Juanine, yes, thank you. Juanine is doing heavy lifting throughout with every committee, so thank you. David and Tony, I'd like to let you begin with an update on the search.
Well, good evening. We've been working very hard, getting prepared for bringing you slate of candidates on December 1st. And then also, Tony has especially been working with your team on what the schedule of interviews will look like on the 2nd and 3rd, and the final interviews the following week. We've been busy recruiting. This is the fact that we not only have to find people who want to be superintendents, but they also need a background in special education and some of the special things you do, it is a challenging search from that point of view, and that we start with an already kind of smaller pool than we would, say, if we were looking for a superintendent in one of your member districts. But we feel we've got some very good candidates. The position is not closed yet. It closes tomorrow or this weekend, I think, very soon. As of this morning, we have 15 candidates. I'll just give you a little bit of demographic data. Right now, we have no sitting superintendents who are applicants. Doesn't mean we haven't talked to many of them, and there is always a possibility someone will come in at the last minute. Not surprisingly, the greatest preponderance of our candidates are people who are in the assistant superintendent, associate superintendent. Some of them may have the title director or executive director, deputy superintendent. 9 out of the 15 at this point are in those roles. And even if you look at our regular K-12 superintendencies that we do, the majority of superintendents that we placed, even here in the metro area, come out of that same demographic group. We do have 2 principals who have applied, 1 teacher, 2 applicants who right now are working at the state level in not in Minnesota necessarily, but at the state level. And we have 1 candidate who's coming from a business background. 8 of the 15 candidates are from Minnesota. Not surprisingly, I'm actually surprised it isn't even a little higher percentage than that. So, the remaining candidates are really from several different states. And when we come on December 1st with our final list to you, we will provide you the demographic data again and more precisely on those candidates. I do know the question has come up about, can the board see candidates who have applied that we don't bring forward to you on the slate? And the answer to that is no. In the state of Minnesota, candidates have confidentiality until the board actually, the night we bring you the slate, I think we talked a little bit about that process. We actually can't even give you their names on the first run that night. We give you a lot of information about them. Then we ask whether the board wants to take action to interview that slate. At that time, those people on the slate that you're going to be interviewing, that does become public information. But just, rest assured, we are vetting these candidates very hard. We've been doing a lot of that already. We're interviewing candidates, speaking with them, we're checking references, and, we will be bringing you the slate that we feel is the strongest and meets your profile the most closely out of those candidates. But we cannot legally share with the board, okay, here are the candidates that we're not bringing forward. Now, if you're not satisfied with the candidates we bring you, whether that be right away or after the interviews, then we go back to the well and we'll bring you other candidates. But in terms of can we just, give you a list of the other people that applied for the position that we did not bring forward, we can't do that. Tony, I'll let you take over with any info.
Related to that? No,
No,
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
to that.
Well, that's kind of where we are. We'll be back on December 1st with the recommended slate. And I think the board is still working to finalize your questions. We'll be bringing you candidates that night, as well as we'll have put together a recommended schedule of candidate interviews for the 2nd and the 3rd, because obviously we have to get the candidates scheduled. So we tell them it's not a for sure thing until you take the action on the 1st, but providing you do, we'll be able to, let's say if we have 6 candidates, we will have pre-scheduled 3 of them for the night of the 2nd and 3 others for the night of the 3rd.
Thank you. So I'm going to just walk through a couple of additional points and then open this up for questions. David and Tony referenced the interview questions. So the board has been sent a Google form that includes the proposed interview questions as assembled by the superintendent transition team. This is for the first round of interviews. And those questions were developed from a list of suggested questions from School Exec Connect, about 75 plus questions, as well as all of the engagement session feedback. And that information has all been shared with the board. So the request is that that Google form be completed by Monday, the 22nd, so that we're ready to move forward to prepare those. And just that this continued calendar, as has been referenced, we're coming into quite a bit of time commitment, because this is where we get the opportunity to select candidates, interview, and make the selection. So December 1st, we will meet again with School Exec Connect. And wanting to confirm, please, this is all 5 p.m., correct? I appreciate your choice to be consistent on this. So it's one time to track. This is 5 p.m. on the 1st, meeting again on December 2nd and December 3rd. And depending on the number of candidates selected for interview, approximately 3 and 3 on each night, 5 p.m. December 3rd, we will narrow the field to 2 to 3 finalists. And then lengthier interview process on December 6th, 7th, and 8th, depending on the number of finalists selected. That's those are longer days. And the board convenes again at 5 p.m. Is that correct? Or do we convene earlier on the 6th, 7th, and 8th?
The 6th, 7th, and 8th at 5 p.m. is the community, which the board's supposed to be there as well.
Correct.
And then after the community meeting, we go straight into board.
Thank you, Juanine. Thank you. So the plan is to select an individual with whom to begin contract negotiations before we leave on December 8th. So with that, and I do want to add too, for the community watching the meeting, Rachel Hicks and her team have been incredible in providing information on the 287 website. So I invite people to go to the superintendent search section on the website. There is much more depth of information about this process, specific documents, communication plan, and an opportunity to subscribe for regular electronic updates. So I would encourage people to visit the website for more detail and to sign up for more information to be pushed out to them directly. So with that, I'd like to open this up for questions, either for School Exec Connect. Tony.
Could I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
We also sent you a document that had information about first round interviewing the things that you should look for when you're interviewing and how to prepare yourself and the materials that we'll be bringing on the evening that we present the candidates. And it's kind of like a document that has everything in it. It has the schedules, it has input for you about what we would tell other people involved in the interview process. Please take the time to look at this. And we will go over this on the 1st as well, as confirming who's going to ask which questions by number. We won't say the questions. And confirming that you leave here with all the materials that you need that night in order to be prepared for the first round interviews.
Thank you. I appreciate that addition. Any questions or comments? Michelle?
Thank you for all your work. I went through, and the questions are really very, very good.
You can thank your committee, your SIT committee.
Very, very good. So have we received this document?
The Google form?
Yeah, I might have lost it.
Not the
Mhm.
Google form, but the one she's mentioning. I don't believe I got that, so.
Yeah.
Form.
That came from here.
That came
Not
from,
us.
Okay.
Michelle, we will follow up to make sure, because
Yeah.
I'm not
You know,
100%
Not,
sure.
not a genius with my board. book.
Unless it was part of the final report. Juanine?
If we're talking about the
I think
Google
it's
form
final
with the
report.
questions,
Mhm.
I resent that yesterday in that reminder email.
But I
Oh, not
believe
about the
your
question.
question is about the look fors, correct?
Yes.
Not the Google form, but the look fors.
Right.
We're going to confirm that. I appreciate you bringing it up. Well, let's confirm, and we can always send it out again. If it did go out once, emails get buried easily. We'll just push it out again. So thank you.
Was it sent by email?
The questions themselves that were created as a result of everything given to them was sent as a Google form for you to give feedback on, but that was sent by Juanine.
Yep, we got that.
And then Juanine also took all the documents that we sent, like the one I was just talking about, and she sent that out with Regina to all of you.
So
via
this is the
email.
look fors,
Sure.
the things to look for in the interview process.
That it's our final report. It's titled the
So
final.
it's final report. If it's in the final report, that did go out. And I think
Yeah.
so just knowing the title, we can find it with final report. So we'll take a look at that. But
At least the committee got it.
no, I'm pretty sure went out by November 5th.
Yes.
That's, I wanted,
Yeah.
Yes.
Email that went out on the 5th.
I think it's
Oh,
November
that
5th.
helps.
So
Yes,
I'm
it
going to
was.
confirm that, but it should all be there. I appreciate the opportunity to double check and make sure that it's here. Any additional questions? And we can always push this out again so that it's at the top of the email chain. Sam?
For clarification, the superintendent search committee that our board members and administrative staff are a part of, will they also be vetting with Schools That Connect the final candidates? I believe that's what we agreed upon, right?
Vetting in what regard?
So the slate of 15 that are actually, or any amount of interview or not interviews, so applications that we've had, the final 5 or 6 or whatever, I believe, for our content that we had decided on, that the board members that were going to be part of this committee were also going to be part of the vetting process at that level.
I don't know that it's legal for this committee. My understanding is we may not legally see the names of all of the applicants. Or are you referring to a different process that does not include the names?
Well, that wouldn't include the names, correct?
Because we're not a quorum of the board, so we could, right? I think that's what you're saying.
Yes. This
Well-
is the issue that I brought up when we first interviewed Schools That Connect.
And Tony, could you please speak to that?
It is not our process to bring the candidate pool to a committee like that and have them select the people. We will be doing the vetting and selecting of the 4 to 7 people that we bring you. And then from there, if you are not interested in the pool that we bring to you, we can work from there. But we will be bringing you the top candidates out of the pool of applicants. And we will have vetted them via talking to people about them checking out their own personal references they gave us. And then, for example, before we even called one person that we've tried to recruit, we talked to 4 people about this person and what they've done and whether they would be a valid candidate in their perspective for this type of role. So we do a lot of vetting, and then we do it electronically too, to check out all people to make sure there's not something in their background that shouldn't be there, that would take them out of the pool.
Tony, help me understand in Osseo, he had a slate of like 12, and a subcommittee of the board got to be in on those interviews, and then we narrowed it down to 5.
You interviewed 12 people?
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge responsibility and a commitment of time. Mm, oh,
The quick, like, the preliminary to narrow it down to those 5.
did you do that? You did that in open
It was a
meeting?
subcommittee of the board, so it was all
Oh.
no data, except we knew their names and where they were from because we were talking to them.
We've done that a couple times, but we haven't done it very often ever. And we've done it in states where it's more of a closed meeting opportunity than Minnesota has. We,
It was a closed meeting because it wasn't.
mhm,
It was just 2 members.
2 members? Oh, yeah, I remember that process, yes. Mhm. Yeah, I remember. It's
That's
not our
not a
process.
process that's friendly to candidates.
No.
You know, we feel a very strong obligation to our candidates, and probably their greatest concern until, you know, you take action on the slate is staying confidential. If we'd want to move the district to Ohio, we'd be in good shape. I've worked on searches there, and in Ohio, everybody who applies for the job is public information. That's not true in Minnesota.
I will share that the most common feedback that we get related to the pool of candidates that we bring is that frequently it's the strongest pool of candidates that they've had to interview and make a decision about. We have not had a search that I can recall where we've had to go back into the pool. Have you, in Minnesota?
If it was a long time ago.
If it was, neither one of us can remember, but we will keep working with you until you get someone you want to hire as your superintendent. That is our commitment to you. And if we didn't bring you in the first round, it's because we didn't think they were the highest qualified to meet your needs as a district and to meet your profile of all the things that you want them to do and to be committed to. And we will go back and review.
Thank you.
And if we think we've got more candidates than 6, we'll bring you 7 that we think you need to look at.
I want to invite Crystal to make a comment or ask a question, and then Sam. Crystal.
I have both a comment and a question.
Sure.
Comment is, I do think perhaps in our next smaller group committee meeting, we talk about this in more concrete terms, because I do think that there's a lot of opportunity in between the whole group or even a small group vetting and us being able to have sort of a preview conversation of the people that you are thinking of coming forward. I think that there's room for us to talk more specifically about what that could look like, because I have heard the request multiple times that we make sure we have a sense before we just get to that night and are sort of seeing it for the first time. So I think that we should just talk more about that, and we still have time to talk about that. My request is, it feels very logistical, but on the school board page of the District 287 website, it like all of these meetings that are coming up are not reflected there in terms of the different times that we're meeting and the dates. So I think it would be helpful in case somebody is looking for school board meetings coming up to have some sort of clearer connection that we are not following our typical meeting rotation, because that's what it says there. And then the other question is, are we still meeting on, I already just lost the date. Is it the 9th?
Yes.
So we're meeting the
Yes.
3 nights prior, and then we're still having our traditional business meeting at 6:30 that night. Okay, I just wanted to make
Correct.
sure that that was accurate. Okay,
We're setting up hotel rooms, right?
I know, seriously, right? Whew, we can't stay here.
Hats? Okay,
I'll bring a sleeping bag.
thank you. Sam?
So for clarification, because I brought this up when we first interviewed Schools That Connect, and we talked about adding language in the contract. What was specifically added in regards to the situation? So I know I did say something and it was changed in the contract language.
No, I remember your comment very well. I don't know that we have contract language that specifies that we will look at all of the candidates.
I thought there was, because
And we can go back and review that.
because again, going through this with Robbinsdale, and nothing against Schools That Connect, but this is our number one priority, is hiring a superintendent. And I don't want to look through names. I understand, privacy laws and whatnot, looking through a larger group of candidates. Like Jackie just said, if you look through their resume, not knowing who they are specifically, I don't see anything illegal with that at all, to go through that slate of candidates and say, yes, we're confident this is the 5 or 7 that we do want to interview at this point, because we all have ears, and I'm sure many of us have already heard some people that have already applied, and we want to see how they're racked up against other candidates, not knowing their names or seeing their bios. I don't see anything wrong with that, because that is our responsibility.
Well, the process we're going through here, Sam, is identical to the process you went through in Robbinsdale.
I understand
There's
that,
no
and
difference.
I'm not complaining about that part of the process, but we all have different point of views.
Sure.
And who you're going to pick as the top 5 or 7, whatever, might be different than any of us.
That is certainly possible. I appreciate your comment, and I do remember that this is something that you brought up early in the
Yes.
process, so certainly not forgotten. I do appreciate the opportunity for another round of discussion with the superintendent transition team, because it is an important topic. We do have time for that additional conversation. So if it's all right, I think for this particular topic, that would be a good way to proceed forward, if that sounds all right.
Yes.
Tony?
And I would like to include Ken and Dave if they're both available in that discussion too.
I think that would be great. And I'm going to pull up that date, or maybe somebody can find the date of our next
November
meeting.
23rd is.
There we
I
go.
think it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it is. It's Tuesday, the 23rd,
Right.
1 o'clock. So thank you. We will continue with that conversation then. I do remember the point, and I know it is something that is a priority. So we'll continue to speak about that. We have talked about it in the transition team meeting, so it has not been ignored. It's not a topic that has been ignored. But I also recognize the sensitivities toward the Minnesota statute, toward honoring the candidates and their process and their expectations, and also our shared desired outcomes for having the best candidate. We all share that goal of finding the best superintendent for this district within that superintendent profile. I also want to thank Crystal regarding the website. The dates are there. They're under the timeline update. So I know that Rachel's put a lot of detail into the website. The timeline update specifically addresses the meetings on December 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and 6th through 8th. But I think it is a good note that we can move
On the
those
school
forward.
board page, not on the superintendent search page.
It's superintendent search page. So if you're on the superintendent search, District 287 superintendent search, scrolling to community updates.
No, I meant there's a school board page that has the dates that says this is when the school board meets.
Oh, the school board meetings, not the superintendent search. Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
school board page, we can add those so that the two are aligned.
Yes,
So I think that's all right.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, and that can be done. So we'll make sure that we can get that clarified. additional questions or comments regarding the superintendent search and our job, what we need to do in the next few weeks ahead? Michelle?
Yeah, I just found the superintendent search final report, so
Yes,
I'm hoping that.
that's it.
That's the one.
Thank you. That is the one, but we can send that out again, just so
Okay.
that it's handier for board members to find on their emails. But that includes the documents that were being referenced. So I'm glad you
Knowing
got
the
it.
date was helpful.
Yep, November 5th. That was a big deadline. So but we also pushed a lot of material out to the board on that date. So I recognize that it was a lot of reading. And it was, I think, Andrea, you made the suggestion to put down suggested reading times, how long it might take to get through each document.
Right.
I don't know if those suggestions were accurate. That just reflects about how long I took to review the documents when I went through them. But you can take a coffee break in between as needed. But good to have those. Other questions or comments? And Tony and David, I think I would just let you conclude for this work. There's been a lot of work done up until this date, and we're coming into a really busy time. I'm really grateful for having our work on this end at 287 and yours at School Exec Connect to get us to this point. Any final comments that you'd like the community to be aware of and our board?
I think the board should be aware of the fact that your people internally, Juanine, your committee board members, Rachel,
Radius.
and Radius have really done a lot to facilitate process and to make certain that it fits 287 and its needs and perspective. So I'm grateful for all the work that they've done, and they've been excellent comrades to work with. And they're fun. Smart and fun.
I agree on both counts. Yes, it's been a very good group. So excellent. Well, with that, we will be meeting again on Tuesday and probably frequently to touch base between now and then. And a note for the community is that at the conclusion of this special board meeting, we will be moving into a workshop for implicit bias training with a focus on hiring. So just another layer of preparation for the board specifically, but I'm also grateful to have in attendance School Exec Connect to share in that implicit bias training, just trying to make sure that we are all as well prepared as possible. So I'm grateful to Radius Guest and Amanda Afterkirk for putting together this workshop that will begin at the conclusion of this meeting. So thank you all. I think we will move forward with AMSD report. Do we have a report?
I'll just give a brief report. I don't have my notes, but the November Board of Directors meeting for AMSD kicked off with a presentation on the social studies standards review. And the fellow who presented, Dr. Beach is his name. He teaches at the U of M, and he's also a social studies teacher in South Washington County, I think. But the recording of his presentation is available on the website. If you're curious, or if your community members are asking you questions about the social studies standards or review, I highly recommend that you watch the video, because I learned so much. I feel so much more confident now in terms of understanding it and being able to answer questions. It was really great. It kind of made me want to become a social studies teacher. It was really a great presentation. And then we awarded the Friends of Public Education AMSD Award to Paula Forbes this year.
Oh,
And she is an attorney who's been involved and actually created the whole organization and all of the information gathering from the community for Reimagine Minnesota. She was basically the leader who put together the whole process of building the final report and the 9 pillars. And then she's continued to work with AMSD to kind of implement the 9 pillars and work on professional development and work with different districts, AMSD districts, to find out what's working and spread the word. So it was really fun to see her get that award. Well deserved. What did I forget, Crystal?
And then yesterday was the annual AMSD
yeah.
conference, and I think 5 of us were there. And Michelle, Ruthie, Andrea, myself, in addition to Sandy and Radius, who were presenters. And so special shout out to Sandy and Radius for leading 2 rounds of a session about the work that's taking place here at 287. And it was just a fun day to be able to be sort of in community with superintendents, district leaders, school board members from all across AMSD communities. So kudos to both of you for your work.
I heard so many positive comments about 287 and Osseo and St. Louis Park, so great job. Really good.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Juanine, anything that you'd like to call to our attention regarding board calendar, other than the superintendent search? We have a lot of items that we've talked about there, but anything in addition to that?
No.
Thank you. And Sandy, any closing comments?
No, I agree. It was a very fun day yesterday. Great to see people together. It felt like a long time since we had
It
had
really
that kind of
did.
event. And every session was something to learn about in a different way than what you're doing it. And it just shows that sharing with each other is really a great way to spread the work, if you would.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything from board members for once around the table? All right. Well, with that, is there a motion to adjourn before we move into the work session?
So move.
Moved by Andrea Keene. Is there a second? Seconded by Michelle Coons. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.